Welcome to ABC Interactive English. Hello everyone, I'm Karen.
Hello everybody, I am Shane, and today we are talking about going camping still. And this is part B, setting up the tent.
Ooh, setting up the tent can definitely be fun, but it can also be a little difficult.
Well, it can be, but there are some that are made to be really, really easy to set up.
I've seen those, but I didn't have, those easy tents.
I've used one for the beach that is just like, it's just like a circle, and then you just kind of just twist it, and it turns right into a tent. But it's not big enough to sleep in, I don't think.
I think the tent that we're talking about is like going camping tent, right? Like a bigger kind. So were you kind of the person that was always in charge of setting up the tent?
I think, well, when I would go camping with my father, we didn't even use a tent. He had a camper. And that was on the back of his truck, and we could sleep inside. But when...
That's fancy.
Yeah, and when I got a little bit older, I think just me and my friends would set up the tent together. Yeah, so how about you? Do you know how to set up a tent?
Nope. When I was little, my dad used to set up the tent for us. And then we would actually set up the tent in our backyard.
Oh, cool.
And then my sister and I would kind of just spend the night in the tent in the backyard. I also did that with my daughter during COVID because, during COVID time,
can't go anywhere.
We couldn't go anywhere. So we set up the tent in her room and then we all slept inside. It wasn't the most comfortable thing, but it was a lot of fun.
That's so cool. Okay, let's get into today's lesson.
All right.
Wayne and Emma are at their camping spot.
You did a great job. The spot for the tent is clear of rocks and sticks.
Thanks. I know that neither of us want to sleep on those.
That's right. Now I'll lay out the tent on top of the plastic sheet.
Okay, and I'll put the tent poles together.
Okay, well, now we're going to part B, which is setting up the tent. So we're still talking about going camping.
That's right.
Right, so
Wayne and Emma are at their camping spot. So that's the place where they're going to place their tent. This is the place where they're going to go camping. That is their camping spot. So I guess you will be Wayne and I will be Emma.
okay, sounds great. So Wayne begins by saying, "You did a great job. The spot for the tent is clear of rocks and sticks."
I think that's really important.
So
because
it's soft underneath where you put the tent, right?
Or else you'll be very uncomfortable when you're sleeping because you'll be sleeping on the rocks and the sticks.
That's right. So what is a stick? A stick is a long and thin piece of wood, such as a stem or branch from a tree or maybe a bush, something like that. So for example, he used the stick to roast marshmallows while camping.
And that's what people usually do when they go camping. That's like the best part.
Isn't it the best part?
Yeah. Or making like s'mores, right?
S'mores.
Like adding the cookies, the crackers on the outside and the melted marshmallow in the middle. Yum.
Hi, I'm Tina. 我们来看一下刚刚对话里提到的单字跟文法重点。首先来看看单字的部分。Stick, stick 名词树枝。The boy used a stick to draw in the sand. 男孩用一根树枝在沙滩上画画。我们再来看一下文法重点。Be clear of 没有什么。 Clear 在这里是形容词，意思是清除了的。我们来看看这个例句 ：The table is clear of any plate。桌子上没有任何盘子。接着我们回到课文当中。
Okay, so now Emma says, thanks. I know that neither of us wants to sleep on those. And so when she says neither of us wants to sleep on those, she means rocks and sticks.
Yeah.
Because that would be very, very uncomfortable.
Right, so that's good that she did a good job.
Finding a good spot.
So Wayne says, that's right. Now, I'll lay out the tent on top of the plastic sheet. Oh, okay, so you need to put the tent, but then you put the tent on something, which is a plastic sheet. So what's a sheet?
Okay, so sheet, that is a noun. That's usually, it means that a large, like a rectangular piece of cloth used to cover maybe sometimes a bed or a rectangular piece of any materials like paper, glass, or plastic. Well, it's plastic in this case.
In this case, right. Right.
Because it's waterproof.
Ah, right.
So for example, you can say the plastic sheet under the tent will keep it clean. And also, the tent will be dry because you don't know if the soil, the ground is wet. So you want to make sure that when you're sleeping, you're not going to get wet.
Right, you have an extra layer of protection.
Ah, that's right.
我们来看一下刚刚对话里提到的单字 sheet 名词垫子，那么 plastic sheet 指的就是塑胶垫。Nelson placed a sheet under the vase. Nelson 在花瓶下放了一个垫子。Vase 指的是花瓶。文法的部分刚刚提到了 neither of 加名词，两者什么的皆不。这里的 neither 也可以念成 neither。当做主词的时候呢，视为单数哦，后面要接单数的动词。Neither 表示两者皆非。我们来看看这个例句 ：Neither of the answers is correct。这两个答案皆不正确。下一个文法 lay out 铺开、摊开。lay 指的是放置、铺设，它的三态是 lay, laid, laid。我们来看看这个例句 ：Belle laid out the map on the table。Belle 把地图摊开在桌上。接着我们回到课文当中。
Okay, and now Emma says, okay, and I'll put the tent poles together. Okay, I think that's the harder part.
Yeah, that's what sometimes makes putting up a tent difficult, is you have to put the poles through some little like holes or loops that are in the tent, and you have to try to figure out how to make this thing all come together.
Exactly, and then you have to connect the poles first.
That's
and
right.
then you put it inside the holes.
Right, sounds like you've done it before.
It's not easy. So usually I'm the person on the side that's helping.
Supervising?
No, I would say helping.
Helping, okay.
Because I know some people are better at it than I am, but it is kind of fun.
Okay. All right, let's take a short break and we'll be right back.
All right.
Cool. After that, we'll slide them in the tent and raise the whole thing.
Did you bring a hammer for the tent stakes?
No, we can just hit them into the ground with a rock.
Good idea.
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back, everybody.
So before the break, we were looking at this dialogue between Wayne and Emma. And right now, they are setting up the tent because they're going camping. So of course, they need to set up the tent. And at first, Emma finds a perfect spot for the tent because it doesn't have rocks, it doesn't have sticks.
On the ground there,
yeah,
right?
exactly. It's a good spot for the tent so they won't feel uncomfortable. And then Wayne places the plastic sheet under the tent so it doesn't get wet. And now Emma is getting ready to put the poles for the tent.
Okay, so now Wayne says, cool. After that, we'll slide them in the tent and raise the whole thing.
That's right.
So he says they're going to slide them in the tent. So slide means to move easily along a surface. So this could be like slide, and tenses for this are slide, slid, slid, right? So for example, I slid the box under my bed. So you just, so hopefully it goes smoothly and they can just slide them easily through the tent.
Sometimes it's not so easy, but we don't know. And then you can raise the tent, right? So to raise, it means to cause something to be lifted up or become higher. So for example, you can say he raised the window shades. So when you say raising the tent, after putting the poles inside the holes, you have to set it up, make it higher. It kind of looks like a triangle, I would say.
It can, or it could also just be like
a dome.
Like a dome, right.
So you set it up and then people can go inside.
Yeah, and they have different size tents, of course. Some made for just 2 people, some made for a dozen people.
That's right.
It really depends, you know, there's all different shapes and sizes.
Exactly.
我们来看一下刚刚对话里提到的单字 slide slide 动词滑动，它的3态是 slide slid slid。 Please slide the door open， 请把门划开。 Raise raise 动词举起抬起。 Peter raised the box onto the shelf。 Peter 把箱子抬到架子上。接着我们回到课文当中。
Okay, and now Emma says, did you bring a hammer for the tent stakes? Oh, that's also very, very important. Did you bring a hammer?
I don't think so. Usually what I would do is I would find a rock.
Oh, okay.
And I would just use the rock like a hammer.
Ah, so you don't actually need a hammer.
Not really. There's usually quite a lot of rocks in nature.
True.
Right? So you can usually find a pretty good rock. But a hammer would be probably the best tool to use. And a hammer is a hand tool with a solid, heavy head on a handle. It is used to pound or to beat something into place, or maybe to beat it into a shape, right? So for example, you can say, I used the hammer to hit the nail into the wood.
Ah, that's what we see most of the time when we see hammers, right?
Right, so we're going to use this hammer on a steak. Now, what's a steak? Is that like what you eat?
No, what you eat, that's S-T-E-A-K.
Oh.
But this is S-T-A-K-E. And we're talking about tents here. So what does it mean? So that's a noun. Tent stakes are like pointy metal or wooden sticks.
Or plastic.
Sometimes plastic, that you push into the ground to hold the tent in a place, like anchors for a tent. Because if you don't have these tent stakes, if the wind comes, and it will be blown away.
Your tent will blow down.
Exactly.
Or it'll fall on you. Or something like that.
So you don't want to miss this step. It's very, very important. So for example, you can say, we used the tent stakes to hold our tent down so it wouldn't blow away in the wind.
Very, very smart.
Do you always do that?
Always use stakes?
Yes.
Oh, you have to. Yeah, it's an essential part of camping. You need to do that.
我们来看一下刚刚对话里提到的单字 hammer, hammer 名词铁锤 Dad used a hammer to fix the picture to the wall. 爸爸用铁锤把画钉在墙上 stake, stake 名词钉桩 They hammered the stake into the ground to secure the tent. 他们把桩钉进地里来固定帐篷。Hammer 在这里是一个动词的用法，意思是捶打。那么 secure 在这里指的是使牢固。接着我们回到课文当中。
So now Wayne says, no, we can just hit them into the ground with a rock.
And that's what you were saying.
Just like me. Yeah, you don't need any fancy technology. I mean, we're camping. So, bringing a hammer might also be heavy. You have to bring in another extra tool with you. That might not be very convenient. So, yeah, just use what's there. Use a rock.
That's right. You can always find tools in nature, right?
Yes.
And that's why Emma says, good idea. That saves us some trouble of bringing the hammer, right?
So Emma didn't get mad at Wayne for not being well prepared.
That's true, because he has an idea and he has a good idea.
So he probably thought ahead, right? Okay, well, that's all the time we have for part B, but we still have part C to go.
Yay!
So we'll see you back in part C. See you next time.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wayne and Emma are at their camping spot.
You did a great job. The spot for the tent is clear of rocks and sticks.
Thanks. I know that neither of us want to sleep on those.
That's right. Now I'll lay out the tent on top of the plastic sheet.
Okay, and I'll put the tent poles together.
Cool. After that, we'll slide them in the tent and raise the whole thing.
Did you bring a hammer for the tent stakes?
No, we can just hit them into the ground with a rock.
Good idea.
我们来复习一下这一课的重点单字跟文法。单字的部分 sheet 名词垫子，那么 plastic sheet 指的就是塑胶垫。slide 动词滑动。raise 动词举起抬起。hammer 名词铁锤。stick 名词树枝。stake 名词钉桩。接着我们来看文法的部分。be clear of 没有什么。The wound is clear of dirt. 伤口没有脏污了。Neither of 加名词，两者皆不。Neither of the books interests me. 这两本书我都没兴趣。Lay out 铺开摊开。I'll lay the poster out on the table for you to see. 我会把海报摊开在桌上让你看。以上就是这一课的重点单字跟文法，那我们下一课再见喽，拜拜。
Oh, I'm feeling hungry, Winnie, and it's time for breakfast.
My favorite meal of the day. So what are you thinking? Pancakes, waffles?
I'm feeling something a little more traditional, like radish cake.
Ew, cake with radish in it? That sounds gross.
No, not that. Here, I'll show you. And today we are having a super traditional Taiwanese breakfast with some things that your foreign friends might not be too comfortable with.
Yeah, especially if you say soy milk to them, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, I've had soy milk. But today we're talking about 咸豆浆.
Yes.
It's savory.
Or we can say salty soy milk.
Yeah. Then we also have, of course, dun 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 dun, 菜.
韭菜盒.
韭菜盒. Yes, so this is what we would call a chive pocket.
Yes, and usually when we call a type of food a something something pocket, usually we're describing something that is usually covered by a dough, and inside there's different types of fillings, so we'll call it a pocket.
We also have something called, you gotta say it, it's a long name.
Okay, well, of course, this is a salping. And in English, we can call it a sesame oven baked pastry.
Right.
Now, the key word here being pastry because of how it's made. When we think about pastries, we're thinking about layers.
Okay, well, last but not least, we have rice ball.
饭团.
饭团. Yeah.
Yes, this is made from
glutinous rice.
which is
so it's sticky.
Okay, well, thanks for having breakfast with us today. If you want to learn how to say something in English, don't forget you can message us here.
Kiwi later.